Attention, duped masses!
You're listening to Media Monarchy with James Evan Pilato.
Smith's suicide, Kaspersky's contracts, and pot-selling robotic blonde mannequins. Plus this day in history with Chappaquiddick and our Song of the Day by Beach House on your Morning Monarchy for July 18th, 2017. Good morning, I'm James Evan Pilato from MediaMonarchy.com. Thank you so much for joining us live. We are broadcasting live every Monday through Friday starting at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. MediaMonarchy.com/listen. Click that link and it should open up your VLC, your Windows Media Player, your Winamp, any number of ways to listen to our independent, non-commercial alternative media brought to you by you. And a huge thanks to our latest patrons and supporters and subscribers like John G. He went to patreon.com/Media Monarchy, and that gives us the support we need to keep going and growing, my friends. Tuesday is Tech Tuesday. That means Cyberspace War Day, and we want to get into it quickly, but let's glance at the breaking lamestream news. Trump suggests Republicans will let the Obamacare market collapse, then rewrite the health law, as though it wasn't already collapsing even during the previous puppet administration. Minneapolis woman killed by police, what we know and don't know about woman killing woman. In other women news, Saudi woman who wore skirt in viral video has, of course, been arrested by the fine folks in Saudi Arabia. Trump administration unveils new Iran sanctions, and a really interesting one. We might have to look at this one on Thursday. Bodies of couple missing since 1942 found in a glacier. But like we noticed yesterday, let's do it again. My lamestream news now has a helpful new sidebar called Fact Check. Let's check out today's fact checks. White House chef's faux resignation is on the fake news menu. No, President Trump, you haven't signed more bills than any other president. That first one's from PolitiFact. Second one was from the Bezos Post. Third one, dead Bigfoot confirmed at Elephant Butte Lake in New Mexico. That comes from Snopes. Taylor Swift not carried in suitcase out of apartment despite reports from the Gossip Cop. And finally, this must be the popular one because it's the only one that's the same as yesterday. Can Scotland and Wales block the repeal bill? That's from the Big Brother Corporation. So that's your morning fact check. You didn't know you needed a morning fact check, did you? That's why you got independent, non-commercial alternative media. I learned it this morning, hot off the tweets from our friend James Corbett, and it is bad news. Former House Speaker Dennis Hastert has been released from a Minnesota federal prison where he served a whole 13 months for a bank fraud conviction linked to his effort to conceal his past sexual abuse of teenage boys. Hastert, 75, pleaded guilty to a May 2015 indictment that accused him of illegally structuring bank withdrawals and lying to the FBI in effort to pay off someone known publicly as Individual A, who claimed Hastert had abused him and later offered him a sum of $3.5 million to shut up. Individual A said Hastert paid him about half of the agreed-upon sum and sued him for the other half. The former speaker admitted to a judge at his April 2016 sentencing hearing that he had sexually abused children in the 1970s during his time as a wrestling coach at Yorkville High School in Illinois. Judge Thomas Durkin called Hastert a serial child molester at the sentencing after prosecutors found at least 5 individuals Hastert abused during his time as a coach prior to his political career. Hastert is now being supervised by a residential reentry management field office based in Chicago. After serving 13 months of his 15-month sentence, the judge sentenced the ex-speaker to 2 years of supervised release, and he must report to a probation office within 3 days of his release. Hastert is the longest-serving Republican speaker in history. He served 20 years in Congress and 8 years as Speaker of House. Nothing is more disturbing than having a serial child molester and Speaker of the House in the same sentence, the judge said. I don't know if he's already working on his new show on CNN. I'm sure that'll be coming soon. So for the real story, the real scoop on the Dennis Hastert drugs, blackmail, pedo scandal will include in the links as well, of course, links to James Corbett, the real Hastert scandal. And that's the horrific way we begin your Morning Monarchy for Tuesday, which is a Tech Tuesday. We call that Cyberspace War. All the stories you're about to hear, post them about an hour before showtime. You can get those in the tweets so you can follow along if you are listening live to the show, and we appreciate you. Let's continue our look into the suiciding of Peter Smith, a Wall Street analyst who spoke to Peter Smith the day before he reportedly committed suicide, told the Daily Caller News Foundation there were no indications the Chicago businessman and anti-Clinton political investigator was about to take his life. He may have been a fantastic actor, but I certainly didn't leave that phone call saying, oh shit, that guy's at the end of his rope. Charles Ortel, a Wall Street investment banker and market analyst, told the Daily Caller. This does not seem like a settled story. It made perfect sense to me that he might have died of natural causes, but little chance he would have killed himself. Ortel and Smith shared a common interest in the Clintons. Ortel has dug deeply into the financial operations of the Clinton Foundation. He first came to public attention a decade ago by exposing questionable accounting practices at GE. Ortel has similarly expressed doubts about the circumstances of Seth Rich's murder, which police have concluded was a robbery gone wrong, commending those who are trying to discover why so many people close to the last election have died along the way. The difference here is that Ortel knew Peter Smith personally. We had countless discussions, Ortel recalled, of his relationship with Smith. He was using his unique decades of experience in politics to offer me advice how to expose the Clinton Foundation. The Chicago Tribune reported last Thursday that the Minnesota death record states Smith committed suicide in a hotel room May 14th. The investigator's death came only 10 days after a Wall Street Journal interview by investigative reporter Shane Harris, who focused on Smith's attempts to locate 33,000 emails deleted by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton before she surrendered her email server to federal authorities. The Tribune reported that Smith was asphyxiated. He was found with a big bag over his head with a source of helium attached. Prior to Thursday's revelation, it was assumed the 81-year-old political investigator had died of natural causes while at the Mayo Clinic, because as we note, oftentimes here, you want to get sick, go to a hospital. You want to be a criminal, go to prison. You want to get stupid, go to school. You want to be poor, go to a bank. Ortel vigorously dismissed the allegation that Smith took his own life. Ortel, who may have been the last person to speak with Smith prior to his death, told the Daily Caller there were no indications the wealthy Chicago businessman was about to commit suicide the next day. It was a friendly chat, Ortel recalled, of the phone conversation that occurred May 13th. But it certainly wasn't the kind of chat where a person might go out and purchase 2 helium canisters and put a bag over your head. That made no sense. According to the death certificate, Smith died at 1:17 p.m. Central Time on Sunday, May 14th. Ortel said Smith did not appear depressed or give any hints he might be on the verge of taking his life. Absolutely not. He was excited to learn the particulars of a project we had been discussing. Ortel said he was concerned about Smith's overall health and asked him about it. On his final call, I had to ask him, saying, look, I want a straight answer. Are you okay health-wise? And he said, well, I've been dealing with some problems. I'm up at the Mayo Clinic. So that's what he told me. Ortel said Harris asked him during his June 30th interview if he believed Smith had died of natural causes. After sharing information of Smith's health, Shane and I both concluded that Peter had died of natural causes. Peter Smith, 81. He is 81. Had a long history of investigating the Clintons. He reportedly had a hand in exposing then-Governor Bill Clinton's Troopergate scandal, in which the future president used state troopers to guard him while he was having sex with various women. Smith was behind an unsuccessful 2016 effort to enter the dark internet to uncover Clinton's deleted emails. He also faced criticism by some as a person who exaggerated his accomplishments or was a name dropper or claimed to have ties with powerful, famous people. He got his jollies hanging around saying he was close to all these famous political figures, Ortel admitted. Ortel did express doubts about this note Smith allegedly left behind, written in all caps stating, "No foul play whatsoever." Smith reportedly wrote that he was taking his own life because of, again, in all caps, recent bad turn in health since January 2017, and that his timing was related to life insurance of $5 million expiring. Ortel said that none of the emails he received from Smith were written in all caps. I don't remember a single one in all caps. To put that in a suicide note as many times as he did and in language that's not really professional doesn't sound like him. He also noted that many life insurance policies usually exclude payment to beneficiaries in the case of suicide. He struck me as one of those deeply patriotic motherhood and apple pie types who cared deeply about his country, Ortel said of Smith. So that is the latest for you from the Daily Caller. Doubt surfaces about suicide claim of Clinton investigator. Now, the interesting part, let's dive back a week or so ago, when the fake news is all a fluffer because they're excited about Russia investigations. In this clip you're about to hear, Peter Smith is dead. We just don't know it yet.
Big breaking news tonight. The strongest evidence yet of possible collusion between a member of the Trump campaign and Russian hackers. The Wall Street Journal out with a story detailing how a GOP operative and fundraiser sought to get Hillary Clinton's stolen emails from Russian hackers, while implying that he was connected to none other than Michael Flynn. The story says this Republican operative, Peter Smith, embarked on a campaign before the election to get his hands on Clinton's emails, which were deleted, which he believed had already been stolen by the Russians. Smith died in May, but he discussed his effort on the record with the Wall Street Journal before he passed away. Now, while seeking the emails, Smith reportedly intimated he was working with Michael Flynn, Trump's former national security advisor, who was a key figure in the Trump campaign and now a central target in the Russia investigation. Flynn did not respond to a request for comment by the Journal, but there is another huge revelation in this story that may or may not be related to Smith. The Journal, citing U.S. officials, reports that investigators, and this is the most important paragraph, have examined reports from intelligence agencies that describe Russian hackers discussing how to obtain emails from Mrs. Clinton's server and then transmit them to Mr. Flynn via an intermediary. We do not know if Smith was that intermediary or whether Flynn knew what was apparently going on and being discussed. But the Journal notes the reports detailing the Russian hackers' discussions were compiled during the same period when Mr. Smith's group was operating. Last July, of course, you might remember that President Trump directly asked Russia to hack into Clinton's emails.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
And as noted in our chats, this fucking announcer thinks he's saying something. That's Chris Hayes, very excited on the Microsoft General Electric National Broadcasting Corporation. So as long as we're looking at the Clinton death counts, I'm also asked in the chat, wasn't today the day a dead Haitian's supposed to testify against the Clinton Foundation? Klaus Eberwein, a former Haitian government official, found dead last week in a South Dade motel room in what Miami-Dade medical examiner's office is ruling a suicide. Shot himself in the head, said Veronica Lamar, Miami-Dade medical examiner record supervisor. She listed his time of death as 12:19 p.m. The address where Eberwein's body was discovered, according to police, 14501 South Dixie Highway. It's a Quality Inn. A supporter of former Haitian President Michel Martelly, Eberwein served as Director General of the government's Economic Development Agency, better known as FAES. He held the position from May 2012 until February 2015 when he was replaced. He was also a partner in a popular pizza restaurant in Haiti and has pizza, the Klaus Special, named after him. So is this the other guy? I don't know a ton about Klaus Eberwein. So we'll have to continue following the story. If you've got more on Klaus Eberwein, tweet that at me, at Media Monarchy. And let's continue to dive into our cyberspace war news. It is Tuesday. That means Tech Tuesday. That's when we look at inner space and outer space news. And a lot of actions get cleaned up. Alexander Cazes, C-A-Z-E-S, believed to be behind darknet marketplace Alpha Bay, found dead in his jail cell in Bangkok. The suspected co-founder of Alpha Bay, one of the largest dark web marketplaces, was found unresponsive at Thailand's Narcotics Suppression Bureau. He was due to meet prosecutors pushing to extradite him to the United States an hour before they found his body. Police say that evidence points to Mr. Cazes taking his own life, according to the Sydney Morning Herald. Surveillance camera footage of the cell indicated no signs of physical assault. His father, Martin, said it was difficult to believe his son would take his own life. For my father's heart, it's hard to accept that my son committed suicide under police surveillance. It's incredible. Mr. Cazes Sr. said he was awaiting the autopsy results and hopes he will find out the truth behind his son's death. The U.S. Embassy in Bangkok stated that Mr. Cazes was detained at the request of the U.S. with a view toward extradition to face federal criminal charges. Thai police arrested Mr. Cazes, also known by the pseudonym DeSnake, on July 5th on charges of drug trafficking and money laundering. Authorities seized several $1 million, 3 properties, and 4 Lamborghinis owned by Mr. Cazes, according to Deutsche Welle. Mr. Cazes was under investigation by local authorities. He was a computer expert involved with international transactions of bitcoins. He didn't have any business in Thailand, but he had many houses. The properties were worth around £9 million. The Canadian's wife, a Thai national, is believed to be pregnant. She's been subsequently arrested on charges of money laundering. Originally from Quebec, Mr. Cazes was at the center of an FBI investigation, accused of being an administrator and co-founder of Alpha Bay. The website sold illegal goods, Class A drugs, pornography, stolen credit cards, and weapons. The website, which was shut down on July 5th, had up to $800,000 worth of transactions every day, according to researchers. So far, that's now 3 on this episode. Requiem for the Suicided? ? Co-founder of Alpha Bay Dark Web for drugs and weapons, found dead in his cell. The pushback has begun. Aussie entertainment giant Village Roadshow is front and center in Australia's fight against internet piracy. Co-executive chairman and co-chief executive officer Graham Burke can often be found bemoaning rampant piracy down under, but today, it's his equal at Village Roadshow making headlines. Robert G. Kirby's presence at Village Roadshow dates back to the 1980s. But now both he and the company are making significant outside investments in patented streaming technology. It aims to help the fight against piracy while offering benefits in other areas of innovation. The deal centers around the Linneus Video Virtualization Engine, an intriguing system patented by Australia-based Linneus Technologies that allows the content of a video stream to be heavily modified live and on the fly between its source and destination. Back in the old days, they'd call that TV fakery. Linneus explains that in the current marketplace, video files are static and not so different from an old can of film. People who want to watch online content press play in their devices and a message is sent to the data center holding the video. It's then streamed to the user as is, and very little can be done with it on the way. With its system, Linneus says it places a ghost file on the user's device which calls the data and recompiles it on the fly on the device itself. Instead of being a complete file at all times during transit, it only becomes a video when it's on the device. This means that the data is manageable and malleable, making it possible to add, delete, and splice parts to make a custom content, even going as far as to insert new business rules and other tech innovations, including payment gateways and security features. One of the obvious applications is granting broadcasters the ability to personalize advertising on a per-user basis, but Linneus says there's also the potential to enhance search engine monetization. Australian entertainment giant Village Roadshow and its co-executive chairman have invested $1.5 million in Australian money in a company developing anti-piracy technologies. Linneus Technologies holds a patent which allows for the virtualization of video files, enabling the modification of streaming content on the fly and the viewing of secure ghost files on users' devices. That's right, your vending machine fondle slab will soon have more ways for you to spend money on content you didn't create. Remember, like the dead Kennedy said, don't create, be sedate. You're listening to The Morning Monarchy for Tech Tuesday, July 18th, 2017. I'm James Evan Pilato from MediaMonarchy.com. Glad you're here. Hopefully taking a fear-free look at what's really going on in the news. Each day of the week, we focus in on a different area. Monday's world news, Tuesday's tech, Wednesday's health, Thursday is weird, and Friday is the entertainment industrial complex, of which we are all soaking in. Politicians in the UK are forwarding the proposal to ban anonymity on the internet following the abuse and intimidation towards members of Parliament, specifically Labour MP Diane Abbott. On Wednesday, the British Parliament debated the issue of online harassment during the general election campaign, when many of them had their views subjected to questioning and criticism by members of the public. Some of them, like Labour Party Shadow Home Secretary Diane Abbott, received more direct messages than others. Abbott's past comments on race were at the forefront of the criticism against her, but others wrote racially charged remarks and slung the N-word at her. Addressing the Parliament, Abbott shared some of the insults she received on the internet. I think the rise in the use of online media has turbocharged abuse, as well as the rise of online media is helped by anonymity. People would not come up to me and attack me for being an N-word in public, but they do it online. Conservative MP David Jones, I guess there's probably quotes and clips of her actually saying these things. She's speaking in Parliament. Conservative MP David Jones backed up her arguments by calling for anonymity to be curbed on platforms like Twitter. Jones described the platform as a form of anti-social media that has a lot to answer for by allowing users to be anonymous. The anonymity in which a lot of participants on Twitter clothe themselves encourages the sort of behavior that we heard about today. Logging onto Twitter nowadays is much like wading through sewage. It is a deeply unpleasant experience. Other MPs argued that it might be time to ban anonymous social media accounts altogether to deal with the harassment they receive, in support of previous calls to force users to reveal their real names and identities on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, and elsewhere. Yes, your internet ID is coming very, very soon. Hell, Cassie and I were joking about this morning. I know you wouldn't actually be surprised to learn that we probably should have done it 2 years ago. We were going to set up some social media for Frankie. That's the other business sidebar. Maybe we can make our cat an internet celebrity. Live on a tropical island. In setting up a new email address just to start creating the socials for Frankie. Oh, I can't get this email address confirmed unless I have a cell phone that can receive a text message. You're already being punished in a lot of ways. Now, I told you guys we dumped my cell phone 2 years ago. Now, I work from home, so it's not that big a deal. But now when I go out, there are times where I have to remind people, including my wife, like, remember, no cell phone. Can't text you once I'm out. I can't even set up Frankie's new email address until I have the code sent to Cassie's phone and we can type that in to confirm it and authorize it. We use some of the car share services here. Car2Go, they're slowly phasing out the car. There was an actual card that fit in your wallet that, of course, had a little chip in it. When it comes in contact with the reader on the dashboard, it goes, oh, James, you reserved this car. Clickety-clank, open for you. They're phasing out the card just for the cell phones, so you can only activate and open your vehicle with a cell phone. So that's another way you're getting cut out. You will have to have an internet ID with your tracking fondle slab in your pocket at all times to be able to take part in the fantastic world of Facebook and all the other corporate-controlled garbage. So as soon as places like these implement a lot of this move, you're going to see people leaving in massive droves, as they already are. Now, our friend Apollo Slater actually posted this article, UK politicians call to end anonymous Twitter accounts. This started a little bit of a discussion. So you can find all of that discussion on the tweets, and again, everything we say and play included in the show notes. Somebody says it's cute they think anything is really anonymous. But as Apollo points out, when you're on Twitter, you are anonymous from most average people. But that doesn't include, of course, the powers that shouldn't be, of which there is a revolving door. Governments around the world are enlisting cyber troops who manipulate Facebook, Twitter, and other social media outlets to steer public opinion, spread misinformation, and undermine critics. This all according to a new report from the University of Oxford, adding to growing evidence of government-sponsored efforts to use online tools to influence politics. Now, but remember, we're all the fake news idiots. Researchers found 29 countries using social media to shape opinion domestically or with foreign audiences. The tactics are deployed by authoritarian regimes, but also so-called democratically elected governments. Social media makes propaganda campaigns much stronger and potentially more effective than in the past, said Samantha Bradshaw, reports a lead author and a researcher at Oxford's Computational Propaganda Research Project. I don't think people realize how much governments are using these tools to reach them. It's a lot more hidden. Online behavior of government-backed groups varies widely, from commenting on Facebook and Twitter posts to targeting people individually. Journalists are harassed by government groups in Mexico and Russia, while cyber troops in Saudi Arabia flood negative Twitter posts about the regime with unrelated content and hashtags to make it harder for people to find the offending post. So they dump a haystack on the needle. In the Czech Republic, the government's more likely to post a fact-check response to something they see as inaccurate, said the report. Governments also use fake accounts to mask where material is coming from. See, this is really interesting. This is an article on ad age, on advertising age. They're even realizing what is happening. We've been telling you this for over a decade. This is the part where I mention Information Operations Roadmap. Troops sitting at computers engaging you because they want to fight the net like an enemy weapon system. Google has paid millions of dollars to academics at British and American universities for research that it hoped would sway public opinion and influence policy in favor of the tech giant. They're being compared to the tobacco industry in this way. A watchdog identified 329 pieces of research funded directly or indirectly by Google since 2005 in key public policy areas where regulatory changes could cost it a fortune in fines and lost earnings. The authors, who received payments of between $5,000 and $400,000, did not disclose Google's funding in 2/3 of the cases. Emails suggest that some researchers shared papers with Google before publication, seeking suggestions for changes. Some papers appeared in peer-reviewed journals and others in obscure publications, lacking basic academic rigor, according to the Campaign for Accountability, the U.S. watchdog behind the analysis. Much of the research made arguments in Google's favor. Authors argued that the internet search company and publisher did not use its market dominance improperly, for example, or concluded that collecting huge volumes of personal data was a fair exchange for its free services. Researchers at the universities of Bournemouth and Sussex were among those who did not disclose funding from Google, alongside academics at U.S. Ivy League schools. Academics at other British universities, including Oxford and Edinburgh, also received funding to write policies of interest to Google, but declared the payments. The academics who were directly funded by Google received between $5,000 and $150,000, or up to $400,000 for their institutions as research awards. Google pays academics millions for key support. We're seeing this happen in the GMO world. There's, of course, Monsanto's colluding with the FDA to write papers favorable to them. 97% of scientists agree Google is not evil. Well, we can move on there to cybersecurity. And cybersecurity software from Russian vendor Kaspersky Lab is no longer available to federal agencies via the largest civilian acquisition contract vehicles after a review by the White House, the General Services Administration, and intelligence agencies. Kaspersky axed from government-wide contracts, NASA's solutions for enterprise-wide procurement contract vehicle, and the GSA's Schedule 70 have dropped Kaspersky from their list of pre-approved vendors out of a concern that the company could become a vector for Russia to attack federal workers. I'm pretty sure American federal workers don't really need a lot of outside attacks. They're being attacked pretty well within the walls of this system. These moves come after a review that included intelligence chiefs. Admiral Mike Rogers, director of the National Security Agency and Cyber Command leader, told a Senate committee in May that he was personally involved in the Kaspersky review. Under questioning, the heads of 5 intelligence agencies, including the CIA, said they would not be comfortable using Kaspersky products on their networks. The ban also applies to Schedule 67, GSA's photographic equipment and related supplies and services vehicle. The Senate version of the 2018 defense bill currently under consideration, which we discussed for you yesterday, their version of the NDAA, which the House version of the NDAA, of course, has already passed, and it includes bajillions more for war and destruction. Kaspersky Lab denies that it represents any kind of threat or has any connection to the Russian government. Yeah, nice try. Because I'm pretty sure, as we've heard, if you're talking to a Russian, you're talking to Russian intelligence. That's what the fake news media wants you to believe. Meanwhile, Verizon confirmed last week the personal data of 6 million customers has linked online. The security issue uncovered by research firm Kaspersky, I'm kidding. Cybersecurity firm UpGuard was caused by a misconfigured security setting on a cloud server. Whoops, due to human error. Womp womp. The error made customer phone numbers, names, and some PIN codes publicly available online. PIN codes are used to confirm the identity of people who call for customer service. No loss or theft of customer information occurred, Verizon told CNN Text. Don't worry, none of your information has been spilled. We wouldn't lie to you about that, would we?
Well, a huge data leak has exposed millions of Verizon customer records, but the company says it's an outside vendor that is responsible.
Yeah, here we go again.
Yeah.
Tracy Carrasco joining us now with the very latest on this story. Tracy, good morning.
Good morning, ladies. Names, addresses, phone numbers, and in some cases, the security pins of millions of Verizon customers publicly exposed online by one of the company's vendors, Nice Systems, based in Israel. And apparently, it was a researcher from software security firm UpGuard who discovered the breach and told Verizon in late June. ZDNet.com reports that an employee of Nice Systems put information into a storage cloud area and incorrectly set the storage to allow external access, and as many as 14 million customers were found on unsecured storage controlled by NICE systems. Now, Verizon says that number is closer to 6 million customers, and, quote, there's been no loss or theft of Verizon or Verizon customer information. NICE systems said in a statement, this human error is not related to any of our products or our production environments, nor their level of security, but rather to an isolated staging area with limited information for a specific project. Now, we'll see what this does to Verizon stock today. It closed slightly higher yesterday.
You know, and the thing is, we have, as customers, our information is out there. You can try to protect it as best you can, but it really is so vulnerable. What can customers do in this situation?
You know, Verizon is saying that no one had access to the information except for them, their vendor, and the researcher who found this data breach. But, you know, security experts say, even so, you're still at risk. You know, the main thing to do, I guess, would be to change your security password. Keep an eye on your account. And we'll see if Verizon has any other advice for customers. But I guess that's what you can do in the immediate.
Whether it's Verizon or your bank account or your Netflix account, it's all vulnerable.
Exactly, yeah.
Especially these third-party vendors, it's becoming a big problem.
Thank you, Tracy. Great story.
These damn third-party vendors. Remember, there is no such thing as the cloud. There's only other people's computers. And it's even nice to have a little bit of truth in advertising right there. Oh, so you mean there's no anonymity and everything's vulnerable? Yeah, pretty much. Here's Bob with sports. UpGuard, the same company that discovered leaked voter data back in June, initially said the error could impact up to 14 million accounts. Chris Vickery, a researcher at UpGuard, discovered the Verizon data was exposed by NICE Systems, an Israeli-based company Verzion was working with to facilitate customer service calls. I didn't make up Verzion on my own. That's our buddy Keith in the chat. You are listening to The Morning Monarchy for Tuesday, a Tech Tuesday. Oh, God, I couldn't even say the word right. MySpace's account recovery process is hopelessly flawed, according to a security researcher. I'd love to see if somebody could bust this out right now while we're doing this. Positive Technologies' Leanne Galloway stumbled on the issue in the process of attempting to gain access and delete her MySpace account back in April. I discovered a business process so flawed it deserves its own place in history, she explained in a blog post published just this past Monday. MySpace only requires a valid name, username, and date of birth associated with an account to regain access to that account, and that is it. No email confirmation. Other details are requested in the recovery form, but filling them in isn't necessary in order to change the password and gain control of an account. Despite flagging up the issue to MySpace weeks ago, all Galloway's received since has been an automated response. And we'll find out at the end of this episode how well those automated responses are doing so far. How are the robots doing? We'll find out. MySpace hasn't resolved the problem. Another security researcher, Scott Helm, verified late last week. He told LReg, account recovery on MySpace takes scarily little information. Even worse is that they don't verify the email fields. You can reset with full name and username, which you can get from the profile page and date of birth, which can be easily found or guessed. The vulnerability allows anyone access to any MySpace account with only these 3 pieces of information. The register approached MySpace owner Time Incorporated for content, and they are yet to hear back. Forgot your MySpace password? Just a name, username, and date of birth will get you in and into anyone else's too. I don't know if Tom has anything to do with MySpace anymore, but that would be really interesting to see. I guess I kind of thought about typing it in and see if it would work here on air. We'll do that after the show. Because right now it's time to play video games, right? Atari has revealed their new home games console, the first one in 24 years.
And there's big buzz around the latest retro gaming console, which is expected to come from a resurgent Atari, which slid into bankruptcy in 2013. Atari CEO Fred Chenet, who owns the company, confirmed to VentureBeat last month that new hardware was on the way, and now we're getting our first look at what has become known as the Atari box. And it might turn out to be more than just a classic game machine. Chenet told VentureBeat that the classic gaming icon is profitable once again thanks to mobile games and licensing, like this little bit in the new Blade Runner 2049 movie out later this year. In a post, Chenet said the Atari box will include both classic and current gaming content, which we hope means new games, of course. The photos of the box indicate it will have Ethernet, USB, and HDMI connectivity so we can finally get our asteroids on in full HD. There's no firm date on when the Atari box will arrive or what the price will be, but considering how popular the Nintendo NES Classic Retro Box was last holiday season, we'd lay odds it'll arrive just before the biggest shopping season of the year. Rumors are flying that Amazon could be working on a chat app called Anytime, and it could have a spin that sets it apart from the many, many other chat app options out there.
Hey, whoa, I don't give a shit about that. I just wanted to hear your yap about Atari. The Atari box, that's what it's called, all one word. Atari box will be available in both wood, because it has that classic 2600 look. It has kind of the wood paneling to it, which pretty much appealed to me as soon as I saw it. It'll be available in both wood and black-red finishes and features SD card support and HDMI port, 4 USB ports, and inspired by the classic 2600 console. The company stated in a recent email to fans that our objective is to create something new that stays true to our heritage while appealing to both old and new fans of Atari. Everything old becomes new again. That's how the pendulum swings back and forth and back and forth. And just as something is like, that's over, that means it's just beginning for a different group of people. In the same hotel where Alexander Graham Bell once demoed coast-to-coast telephone calls, Microsoft will announce plans for a new white space internet service today, July 18th. This ludicrous technology sends broadband internet wirelessly over the unused channels of the television spectrum. Now, we've speculated about this on this show. Oh no, the MP3's dead. The firm that made it, it just means they're not going to enforce the license. It doesn't mean it's dead. It means it's completely free. UHF is alive and well, as is noted in the chat. That's what I thought as soon as they switched everything over to digital. Oh, the over-the-air signals, that's dead. Oh, okay, so maybe the people could have those airwaves back, since, that's who they were supposed to belong to. Understandably, you probably have some questions about this postmodern concept. If you were born before 1985, you're probably not listening to Media Monarchy. Wait, if you were born after 1985, you're probably not listening to Media Monarchy. We were all probably born before 85. You might remember the days when TV signals floated through thin air, delivering episodes of Married with Children to homes across America without any wires. Those TV signals still exist, and in between the channels, there's unused spectrum called white space. Enterprising scientists, of course those on the corporate payroll, have figured out how to turn that white space into a sort of super Wi-Fi and broadcast internet service to many miles wide radius. What's extra special is that, unlike Wi-Fi or cell service, the stronger TV signal can penetrate buildings and other obstacles. This makes it ideal for rural areas where conventional broadband service is either completely unavailable or prohibitively expensive. And now a word from Microsoft.
Half the world does not have access to the internet. Without it, you are limited in what you can do, what impact you can have. So Microsoft partnered with the local startup and found a way to use TV waves to bring affordable internet virtually anywhere.
In the next 5-10 years, we'll be producing doctors and engineers from this area. Internet can change the life of people from this place.
Was that Vin Diesel doing the voiceover? As Tuesday's announcement makes clear, Microsoft scientists have been on the bleeding edge of white space research. The increasingly hip company intends to drop $10 billion to launch new white space services in 12 states, including New York and Virginia, who of course have complete internet coverage because it's the most populated part of America. How about some Southwest, y'all? So they're going to launch services in New York and Virginia, connecting an estimated 2 million Americans to the internet. So says the old gray lady. This plan ought to please FCC chairman, who's made expanding high-speed internet access a priority since he took helm at the agency. Then again, many believe that Pi's mission amounts to an empty promise, one that stands to line the pockets of big telecom companies instead of actually helping rural America. But hey, that's a whole nother can of beans, so says Gizmodo. Microsoft's plans to beam internet over TV frequencies might be so crazy it could work. Here's Bob with sports.
What we're trying to do is bring a playbook to life. And so by having a product that can create 3D images and project them up onto a screen, it allows us to present a realistic picture of what a team is going to see prior to them seeing it. Exactly what a team wants to see is up to them. So they have the ability to generate plays, and part of the product is a tool, a training tool that allows them to create those plays for a non-contact environment. And it helps solve a couple of problems. In particular, the collective bargaining agreement restricts the amount of time which teams are able to spend on the field. So this solves one of those problems. Another thing is just the mental reps. A player can't get enough mental reps. So if a player can look at this screen or this application and realize that for their own benefit that they can learn from it, I think that's a huge selling point.
So finally, technology is being used to help the sports industrial complex. In a new deal, Ravens to enter mixed reality with holographic players. Local to the Baltimore Ravens, 3D animation firm is developing a platform in which Ravens players will practice against holographic players. They'll go up against that holographic Tupac, and that is coming from the Baltimore Sun. And again, everything we say and play included in the show notes. If you would like to follow up on some of the ridiculous stories we've got for you today, you can see the photos and you can finish the stories and you can continue the research. Tesla CEO Elon Musk warned a bipartisan gathering of U.S. governors on Saturday, of course, that featured other people like Justin Trudeau. Nothing says a North American Union like having the Canadian Prime Minister come down for a U.S. governor's event. Tesla CEO Elon Musk warned a bipartisan gathering of U.S. governors on Saturday that government regulation of artificial intelligence is needed because, it's just a, quote, fundamental risk to the existence of human civilization. But first, he asked for some governors to lift a different kind of regulation, state franchise dealership laws that ban the direct sale of his company's electric cars to consumers. So, of course, there was an ulterior motive. Elon Musk talks cars and humanity's fate with governors. The other AI story I've got for you this morning come from Fast Company Design. It says AI is inventing languages humans can't understand. Should we stop it? Researchers at FriendFace realized their bots were chatting in a new language. Then they stopped it. Humans have developed unique dialects for everything from trading pork bellies on the floor to the mercantile exchange to hunting down terrorists as SEAL Team 6, simply because humans sometimes perform better by not abiding to normal language conventions. AI coming soon. Hey, but don't panic. Even though your bitcoins might evaporate next week. Again, from the Register, the community-driven organization overseeing Bitcoin last Wednesday warned that any new Bitcoins received after Monday, July 31st, may vanish into thin air or be rejected as invalid. Bitcoin.org said that at the end of the month, Bitcoin confirmation scores, a number that represents the difficulty of altering the associated transaction, may become unreliable for an unknown period. This means that any Bitcoins you received after that time may later disappear from your wallet or be a type of Bitcoin that other people will not accept as payments. The reason for this potential network disruption is Bitcoin Improvement Proposal 148, BIP 148, which describes a user-activated soft fork, UASF. It's an effort to implement a code revision referred to as segregated witness. Oh my God, segregated witness. They're fucking great. I can't wait till the next record comes out. A method for separating signature data from transaction identifier data in a Bitcoin transaction. Doing so offers a number of ostensible benefits, including increasing the Bitcoin block size, limiting the extent to which transaction data can be modified by third parties, and simplifying scripting upgrades. Don't panic, but your Bitcoins may just vanish into the ether next month, so said the Register, but, well, actually do panic. A pending code change could bring a period of instability. Speaking of periods of instability, the war on cash is escalating. A big driver isn't central banks, who want to be able to inflict negative interest rates on savers, or treasuries, who see cash transactions as hiding revenues from their tax collectors, but the payment networks that want to kill cash and checks as competitors to their oh-so-terrific and fee-gouging credit card debit cards. However, one bit of good news is there doesn't appear to be much enthusiasm on the buyer, as in merchant end. First, overview from the Wall Street Journal. Visa Incorporated has a new offer for small merchants. Take thousands of dollars from the credit card giant to upgrade their payment technology. In return, the businesses must stop accepting cash. The company unveiled the initiative last Wednesday as part of a broader effort to steer Americans away from old-fashioned paper money. Visa said it's planning to give $10,000 apiece up to 50 restaurants and food vendors to pay for the technology and marketing costs as long as the businesses pledge to start what Visa executive Jack Forrestal calls, quote, journey to cashless. The war on cash is escalating. Visa is bribing stores and restaurants and merchants to stop taking cash. What are you going to do about it? Not go to those businesses anymore? That's probably the easiest way. And continue to use our own dirty cash, or continue to use whatever the hell you want that you think has value between you and your community. That's going to be the push that's going to continue to happen. And in just an effort to kind of drive home that we're not screwed yet. It was the easy winner for today's album art. Sorry to inform you all, but perhaps some robots are taking this whole be more human thing a bit too far. In D.C., a security robot quits by drowning itself in a fountain. We don't really know the full story of what happens, but it appears the robot, a Nightscope K5, which we've talked about on these episodes. They've been our cover art before. Ran itself right into a water fountain inside an office complex. No word on whether it survived its injuries or why the incident occurred. Did it hate its job? Did it just overhear some horrifying news? Did it realize that the future is not, in fact, right now? Do you know too much about Hillary? The K5 is evidently prone to making headlines about things falling over. Earlier this year, a drunk man was arrested for knocking the K5 over, though the robot wasn't always at the victim end of the spectrum after tripping up a toddler and coldly driving away last summer. The K5 was created to be used as a security patrol robot standing 5 feet tall and weighing 300 pounds. Its rocket-like shape and armless design make it difficult for it to get back up after toppling over. But to fall straight into the fountain seems truly like an act of free will. I wouldn't want your job either, K5. Live your truth, so says The Verge. Fantastic photos. And you got to see, all the people standing around it are pretty much overjoyed. Because we realize, shit, okay, that's a perfect way. Much like the Wicked Witch or the West, can't handle a little bit of water. Now, running a little bit long, and let's wrap up this episode by going from suicidal robots to pot-selling robotic blonde mannequins. The new trend up here in the Pacific Northwest is cracking down on marijuana dispensary mascots. First, there was the Washington cannabis bill that banned costume mascots and inflatable arm-flailing tubemen from advertising for cannabis businesses. Now the town of Wood Village, Oregon, is fining Aaron Mickelson, owner of Northwest Compassion Medical Center, $2,000 for the two buxom sign-wielding mannequins he had stationed outside his store. Mickelson was told his blonde mannequins, which wave signs reading "Got Chronic" when plugged in, ran afoul of Wood Village's recent sign ordinance, which, among other things, bans portable signs. Mickelson netted another $1,000 fine for placing a prohibited rooftop sign atop his cupcake store, which is ingeniously located in the same building as his marijuana dispensary. City manager said, "We're just mad he was smart enough to think of putting a cupcake place in his marijuana store." Oregon town cracks down on pot-selling robotic blonde mannequins in another constitutionally dubious ordinance. And that's how we wrap up the Tech Tuesday edition of your Morning Monarchy. All of those stories, of course, will be included in the show notes, and we are going to go out with brand spanking new music from the unstoppable Baltimore duo known as Beach House. But first, let's take a look at this day in history. Past is prologue, July 18th. 1870, the First Vatican Council decrees the dogma of papal infallibility. You are infallible. All those kids you rape, all that money you steal, it's good. July 18th, 1925, Adolf Hitler published a little book called Mein Kampf. July 18th, 1966, we got a lot of spaceflight notes and we got a lot of bomb notes on this day in history. July 18th, 1966, Gemini 10 was launched from Cape Kennedy on a 70-hour mission that included docking with an orbiting Agena target vehicle. That same day in 1966, a racially charged incident in a bar sparks the 6-day Huff riots in Cleveland, Ohio. 1,700 Ohio National Guard troops intervene to restore order. July 18th, 1969. Shortly after leaving a party on Chappaquiddick Island, Senator Edward Ted Kennedy of Massachusetts drives an Oldsmobile off a wooden bridge into a tide-swept pond. Kennedy escaped the submerged car, but his passenger, 28-year-old Mary Jo Kopechne, did not. The senator did not report the fatal car accident for 10 hours.
My conduct and conversations during the next several hours make no sense to me at all.
According to police, 8 hours elapsed from the time of the accident until he showed up at the police station to report it.
A spokesman for the senator said he might attend the funeral for Miss Kopechne tomorrow at Plymouth, Pennsylvania. A hearing of the charge against Senator Kennedy has been scheduled for next Monday.
Today, police moved to prosecute the senator on a charge of leaving the scene of an accident.
This morning, I entered a plea of guilty to the charge of leaving the scene of an accident. I regard as indefensible the fact that I did not report the accident to the police immediately. These events, the publicity, innuendo, and whispers which have surrounded them, and my admission of guilt this morning raises the question in my mind of whether my standing among the people of my state has been so impaired that I should resign my seat in the United States Senate.
I've been impacted by a number of tragedies in my life. The loss of life of people, members of my family. Those were circumstances which I really didn't have control. I could feel the sense of regret and the sense of sadness and the sense of loss. But this was a circumstance from which I did have a responsibility. In that sense, it was quite different from other life's experience.
Senator Kennedy returned to the Senate for the first time since his automobile accident, and seldom has a return to work been marked by such public attention.
Kennedy said last night he had decided not to resign from the Senate.
I made the decision to continue in public life after the tragedy of Chappaquiddick. I'm a very different person than prior to that tragedy. The way that I'm a different person, I think, is probably reflected in my own view about sort of life and people and faith in God. But I'm a different person.
July 18th, 1969, U.S. Senator Ted Kennedy crashes his car into a tidal basin at Chappaquiddick Island, Massachusetts, killing his passenger, campaign specialist Mary Jo Kopechne. Now, Mae Brussell always claimed that Teddy was set up. And the other important question from the chats, are there any senators who don't have clouds of death around them? I'm not sure. We'll have to turn that over to the investigation department, the research department. Continuing to look at this day in history, July 18th, 1974, the so-called Justice Department ordered John Lennon out of the country by September 10th. The Immigration and Naturalization Service denied him an extension of his non-immigrant visa because of his guilty plea in England to a 1968 marijuana possession charge. July 18th, 1984, the McDonald's massacre in San Ysidro, California, in a fast food restaurant. James Oliver Huberty opens fire, killing 21 and injuring 19 before being shot dead by the police. Early shooter events in America. July 18th, 1984, that same day, Prince's Let's Go Crazy single was released. This day in 1988, a sad day, Beach Boys' Kokomo single was released. That same day, a California appeals court upheld a lower court's decision to dismiss a case against Ozzy Osbourne and CBS Records. In 1984, a teenager allegedly killed himself after listening to Ozzy, say it with me, Suicide Solution. July 18th, 1992, a picture of Les Horribles Cernets was taken, which became the first ever photo posted to the World Wide Web. Now, I clicked that link and I was like, who are the horrible? Oh, the horrible CERN women. This was about the CERN Collider. All the way back in 1992, sexy ladies at CERN were still trying to open up black holes with Kali the Destructor. That same day, Whitney and Bobby Brown got married. July 18th, 1994, the bombing of the Association Mutual Israelita Argentina, that's the Argentine Jewish Community Center in Buenos Aires, kills 85, mostly Jewish, and injures 300. July 18th, another important book published on this day, 1995, Barack Obama's Dreams from My Father is published. That same day, the oldest known musical instrument in the world was found in the Indrika River Valley in Slovenia. The 45,000-year-old relic was a bare bone with 4 artificial holes along its length. July 18th, 2012, at least 7 are killed, 32 injured after a bomb explodes on an Israeli tour bus in Bulgaria. Published to MediaMonarchy.com a decade ago today, Reuters asks for probe of random American bombardment. That would be the collateral murder videos that we would find out later about, where, of course, U.S. Apaches murdered at least 2 Reuters journalists as well as others. The other story, Janine Garofalo used an opportunity on Late Night with Conan O'Brien to discuss her wish to hold up a puppy to offset discussion of controversial political issues like saying 9/11 was an inside job. Celebrating birthdays today, July 18th, William Makepeace Thackeray, Machine Gun Kelly, Lupe Velez. You got Hume Cronin, Red Skelton, the late great Nelson Mandela, the late great Screamin' Jay Hawkins, the late great Hunter S. Thompson, Paul Verhoeven, James Brolin, who also went on TV to talk about 9/11 being an inside job, Joe Torre's birthday, Frank Farian's birthday, Martha Reeves, Steve Forbes, Richard Branson, Ricky Skaggs, Wendy Williams, hey, Vin Diesel. It's also MIA's birthday, Kristen Bell, and Ryan Cabrera. I don't know if any of those folks will make it into our daily DJ set at noon, but we got to wrap this episode up because I got an epic from Beach House. B-Sides and Rarities is a compilation of every Beach House song that does not already exist on any of its 6 albums. They were orphaned because they didn't make a cohesive fit on previous records. Chariot is an unreleased song from the Depression Cherry Thank You Lucky Stars sessions. Beach House, Chariot is how we wrap up this episode. The Tech Tuesday edition, Cyberspace War edition of your Morning Monarchy for Tuesday, July 18th, 2017. I am James Evan Pilato from MediaMonarchy.com. Thanking you so much for listening, my friends, and reminding you, as always, don't hate the media, become the media. Take care.
listening to Media Monarchy with James Evan Pilato. Since 2005, Media Monarchy has covered the real news about politics, health, technology and the occult, all remixed with music and media that matters. Go to MediaMonarchy.com/support and become a monthly subscriber so you can help keep independent, non-commercial, alternative media going and growing. Thanks.